The unofficial end of summer has come and gone, but the broiling temperatures are still sticking around. I know a lot of you are feeling it right now. 90-degree heat plus is enveloping major cities from Minneapolis to Chicago to Cheyenne, Oklahoma. Not Cheyenne, Wyoming, Cheyenne, Oklahoma, all the way down to Savannah, Georgia. Meanwhile, we're seeing record highs already today here in the Northeast, including Maine, Virginia, and Delaware, crashing through old records. But there's one company keeping its cool as its stock has climbed 30% year to date. AAON provides full HVAC systems as well as HVAC parts for commercial, that thing looks like there's an earthquake, commercial and industrial companies across the U.S. and Canada. But it has quietly had an incredible move. Joining us now in a Fox Business exclusive is Gary Fields, the CEO of AAON. Gary, we were looking at the map. I see it's 98 degrees in Tulsa right now. How's your AC holding up?
Oh, my AC is wonderful. It's about 71 degrees here. But, you know, we've had these record temperatures going on for weeks and weeks now, and it's put a lot of stress on HVAC systems.
Yeah, I can imagine. And when we talk about the business that you've been doing due to this record-breaking heat, how has it been different year over year compared to exactly this time last year?
Well, if I look at it strictly because of the climate, I think it has some influence because units are definitely stressed and falling apart, and newer units are needed. But more importantly, I think we've seen people moving towards decarbonization, electrification of their full systems, and that's really empowered a lot of our growth.
Are you like Generac, where it's sort of one and done, you install it and it lasts forever? I mean, talk about the cycle of HVAC systems that are for these huge buildings, big skyscrapers, which is what you do here in North America, including Canada.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say ordinarily most equipment is good for maybe 15 years, but we know for a fact that we have an abundance of equipment out there that's 20, 25 years old and still providing very good service to their client.
You know, one of the things that requires extremely cool temperatures when it comes to industrial efforts is data server world, right? We're talking about semiconductor
Correct.
companies and things like that where they really need very cool temperatures all the time. Your company had acquired Basics back in, 2021, and that's exactly what they do. They specialize in HVAC systems for the chipmakers and data centers. How much has Basics now added, now that you've got a year or two under the belt here, how much has it added to your top line growth?
Well, they're growing at a compounded annual growth rate of about 45%. Wow. And they continue to do that, so that's outstanding. Now, they're roughly 10 to 12% of our total revenue at this point.
What companies does Basics provide with AC equipment when we're talking specifically about chip makers?
Well, I'll have to say that our clients don't want us to disclose their names. But I'll say this, there is no chip maker in North America, and there's no data center operator in North America that is not either a client or considering us, one of the two.
Oh, okay, then you span the gamut here. You know, in your most recent earnings call, Matt Tobolski, the president and co-founder of Basics, mentioned that supply chain issues are, quote, still very much an issue here. What is difficult to get your hands on as far as parts within the supply chain issue that you still haven't been able to clear the clog yet?
Yeah, those are really focused on electric and electronics. So of all things, simple things like fuses and fuse blocks, but also electronic components that we utilize in manufacturing our control boards to control those units. So those are the things that are still a bit sticky.
We've had some pretty incredible, strange, major extreme weather events, such as, and horrific in some cases, the Maui fires, for example. We've seen Hurricane Idalia come through, which was particularly bad. Talk about what you've seen and how you assess the potential for these things. You know, the insurers like to sit there and anticipate what's going to happen. How do you anticipate, and then how do you build that up for your business?
Well, we have a heritage of helping out in these catastrophic situations. I mean, I'll harken back to the days when COVID first manifested itself. New York was short of hospitals, and they built 2 temporary hospitals on the city university campuses. We were able to respond very, very quickly with over 4,000 tons of specialized air conditioning for that. So that kind of set in place. For instance, in Maui, there's an emergency services building that's trying to be erected right now. They needed us to expedite equipment for them. So we're also, not only do we like to expedite that equipment, but we do it at our standard fee. We don't charge any kind of a expedited premium fee. I don't believe in taking advantage of catastrophic situations in that manner.
Well, of course not. I understand. But climate change can also mean historic storms, snowstorms, not just heat events. You guys are in the HV part of HVAC, which is heating and ventilation as well. You know, these bomb cyclones that have suddenly started to pop up every winter clearly are an event that you could, I hate to say capitalize upon, but you do. But that brings me to this question of exactly what's going on in commercial real estate. A lot of these buildings are now empty. How is that affecting your business? Some of these are not even selling back to the banks. They're being abandoned by the people who still owe their mortgages. Have you modeled for this worsening?
Yes, we have. We have offsets in our portfolio that'll offset that downturn. We've already seen a downturn in those commercial buildings. However, I just spent some time with our sales channel partner from New York City, and he said several of those relatively vacated office buildings are being repurposed and into residential and temporary residential needs. So I think there's a lot yet to be seen as to what's going to happen with those buildings. I think there'll be some carnage from it initially, but eventually it'll square itself away, maybe 2 to 3 years down the line.
Well, Gary, what I find really most fascinating is that your stock performance over the past year has been absolutely stellar. And we like to focus on these companies, not just the ones that get all the media attention. And you've quietly done unbelievably well, up 68% over the past 52 weeks. And we think our investor viewers should know about these types of companies. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Company is called AAON, AAON, and that's Gary Fields, the CEO for 7 years, but he'd been there since the 90s.